Good afternoon, everyone. So, it's been a while since I posted any videos up on the old website, but recent events have caused me to put one together for you, specifically dealing with the situation in Iran. And we just finished, the Republican Party just finished holding caucuses here in Boulder. And I submitted a resolution, which I was surprised to see it get voted down. There were 22 precincts at our caucus, and 20 of them voted no on this. And I was surprised. I thought it would have more support. And so I wanted just to read it to you and let you decide for yourself. So it's called Resolution A of the 2026 Republican Caucus in Boulder, Colorado. There it is. And the guts of it are here, 3 paragraphs. Whereas the Trump administration ran on a platform of keeping the United States out of endless wars, and whereas the Trump administration has launched a preemptive attack on Iran without consulting Congress and with no declaration of war as required by the U.S. Constitution. Therefore, we resolve that the Republican Party, this is the Republican Party, not the Democrats or the Libertarians, we resolve that the Republican Party does not support a non-declared war against Iran, and we view it as a neocon blunder, which is a threat to the basic premise of the United States being a republic under the rule of law. And as I said, that failed. 2 precincts voted for it, and 20 voted against it. And so I thought, wow, I was surprised at that. And when I talked to people, they said, well, the War Powers Act gives the president to pretty much do what he wants. And so I thought, well, maybe we should review this War Powers Act. But first, let's review the U.S. Constitution. For a topic this important, the Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, which Article 1 defines the powers of Congress. And one of them, back down in Section 8, just offhandedly, it remarks that one of the powers of the Congress is to declare war, period, and to grant letters of marque and reprisal. That's basically to hire privateers to go after shipping of an enemy country, and make rules concerning the capture on land and water. I don't know if John Paul Jones was a privateer, but there was a long history of privateers. I think Queen Elizabeth hired a few of them to raid the Spanish galleons, but that's off the point. The important point is the Congress has the authority reserved to itself, or the framers reserved to Congress the power to declare war. And then in Article 2, it's where they talk about the presidential power. The president is the commander-in-chief, has the power to wage war. And James Madison remarked that we separate we do not give to the president the power to both declare war and wage war, because that would essentially be creating a prince. It would make him into a prince, and we're not here electing a prince. We're electing a president. Okay, so, but there's been a constant struggle between, obviously, between the president and Congress on this. And the War Powers Resolution in 1973, if you remember, I remember as well, when President Nixon launched he bombed Cambodia and started war operations in Cambodia. And by 1973, everyone was sick of the Vietnam War. And as you remember, we got into the Vietnam War through a misrepresentation, the thing called the Tonkin Gulf Resolution, which is basically fabricated. But again, that's a story for another day. But so the Congress passed this, it was a resolution signed jointly by both houses of the Congress. And basically, the object is, its object was to check the U.S. presidential power. It was intended to check the power of the president to declare war without the consent of Congress. It was adopted in a form of a United States Congressional Joint Resolution and provides that the president can send the armed forces into action abroad only by Congress's statutory authorization or in the case of a national emergency created by attack on the United States, its territories or possessions, or its armed forces. So a lot of people were saying that, well, because of the War Powers Act, they believe that the president has basically 60 days in order to do pretty much what he wants. And that comes from this paragraph here. The War Powers Resolution requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to military action and forbids armed forces from remaining for more than 60 days without a further 30-day further 30-day withdrawal period without congressional authorization. Again, that's that's the key, without congressional authorization. So the War Powers Act requires the president to go to Congress after he's initiated a military action to inform them, and then he has got to get either a declaration of war from Congress or he has to get some kind of statutory authorization. And there's been a lot of statutory authorizations. They use the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution as a statutory authorization for the entire Vietnam War. And there's been numerous occasions where the thing has been used. In this case against Iran, one, there was not even a fig leaf or a pretense that Iran had attacked the United States territory or armed forces. People said, well, you know, the Iranians, they may have had something to do with the attack in Beirut, and they're supporting Hezbollah, and there's been some U.S. troops killed in the area, and maybe Iran was responsible. But that is clearly, in my mind, certainly not an imminent threat against the United States. And the administration did not even go to Congress. Senator Kane of Virginia submitted this resolution based on the fact that there had been no reporting from the administration. And all right, so that's where we're at there. Now, if Congress, it turned out both houses of Congress failed to support Kane's resolution. So they refused to even consider the try to interject any congressional input or action into this whole matter, and just basically left it back to the president. So this entire thing is a presidential. It's basically on the president himself. And going back to my resolution here, that again, I was surprised to see it failed in the Republican caucuses. This simply says we don't support this non-declared war, and we view it as a neocon blunder, period. And the thing is that if you remember, President Trump ran on a lot of promises. Some he's made good on. I think he's done some good stuff on the environment, getting out of de-emphasizing the Green New Deal, which is a scam. World Health Organization, things like that. I mean, trying to bring back legitimate sovereignty and authority to the United States. But on the war thing and the Epstein thing, these two things, I think he's failed on. One, the war in Iraq is still going on. Not Iraq. The war in Ukraine, good Lord. The Ukrainian war, which he said he would end in one day, is still going on a year and a half after he's taken office. Colonel Douglas McGregor, who is somebody I listened to, he said that all the president had to do on day one was withdraw American support for that war, order American troops out of the area, and stop providing intelligence, and the war would have ended the next day. And I agree with that. And I think Trump meant well, but I think that the whole system, the powers and the forces on the president are so immense that it was very difficult for him to withdraw or withstand them. He had a really historic opportunity to reset the whole international order. After his meeting with Putin in Alaska, I really thought we were going to make some progress and get out and just take the power away from the globalists and try to set up a working international order based on mutual respect between countries. But this action in Iran, it's an unbelievable thing. They were in the middle of negotiations. The Iranians were basically caving to all of the demands that Witkoff and Kushner had laid out, and they were looking forward to resuming negotiations on Monday. And Saturday night, they blew up the whole Khomeini family. It wiped him and his entire family and about 40 other people who. I don't know if you listen to Alexander Mercouris, but he was speculating, based on information he had, that these people were gathered together on Saturday night to go over and to review these negotiation options, and were basically working on negotiations. And then they were bombed during the negotiation process. And this is not the first time this has happened. So I just think this is a very bad situation, and I very much feel that it was a mistake and that it threatens the entire Trump agenda. I mean, how the people that supported him, including myself, the two main reasons we did it, or two of the main reasons, were release of the Epstein files and holding the Epstein criminals accountable, which that's not happened, and getting out of these endless wars. So anyway, that's my rant, and let me know what you think. So thanks very much.